Imagine you're relaxing on your couch as the evening light fades outside, and you catch yourself rubbing your eyes because everything feels just a little heavier and slower than it should. Your thoughts don't snap into place the way they once did. Your legs carry a quiet ache. And there's this underlying weariness that doesn't quite lift even after a full night's rest. So many people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond tell themselves that's simply what growing older looks like. But a huge part of that dullness and those frustrating little memory slips often traces back to something far more everyday: the habits surrounding how you sleep each night. I'm Dr. Michael Kent, and for over 20 years I've dedicated my work to understanding how sleep shapes brain health in older adults. Again and again, I meet kind, thoughtful people who arrive at my office convinced their minds are fading simply because time has passed, when in reality, a large share of those changes ties directly to patterns in their nightly routine that can be adjusted with surprisingly straightforward steps. The brain never truly switches off during sleep. Instead, it busies itself with crucial tasks that keep you thinking clearly. Night after night, it flushes out the waste materials that accumulate while you're awake, locks important memories into long-term storage, mends the delicate connections between nerve cells, and resets your emotional state so you can wake up feeling balanced rather than on edge or short-tempered. Whenever those nighttime processes get interrupted or shortened, even by small amounts, the effects show up first in how your mind works during the day. You might notice names slipping away more often, small irritations bothering you more than usual, or moments where focusing on a conversation or a task takes extra effort. According to figures from the National Institute on Aging, close to half of everyone over 65 deals with persistent sleep difficulties, yet more than 60% of those folks view the problems as harmless or just an unavoidable part of aging. What they often miss is how those same sleep troubles can steadily erode brain function over time without sending any sharp pain or clear warning signals to alert you. The truly eye-opening thing is that one of the biggest quiet threats to sharp thinking in later life usually isn't excessive sugar, ongoing daily stress, or even inherited traits. It's the seemingly minor habits tied to bedtime and the hours after dark. Today, I want to carefully walk you through the 5 most frequent sleep patterns that silently affect senior brains, then explain the simple, evidence-based tweaks that studies from Harvard, Stanford, and the National Institute on Aging have shown can help safeguard memory, improve concentration, and steady your emotions. These changes don't require special equipment or huge lifestyle overhauls. They're practical shifts almost anyone can weave into daily life. Before we go any further, it would be great if you'd type just your age down in the comments. I always appreciate seeing who's here with me and who might be noticing these same shifts in their own days. It reminds me I'm speaking directly to people who want clearer, easier understanding. Let's start by talking about what really goes on inside your brain when sleep timing varies, because this is one area most explanations skip over. Once people reach their 60s and 70s, the body's built-in circadian rhythm, the internal timer that governs alertness, memory strength, focus ability, and emotional steadiness, begins to lose some of its former smoothness and adaptability. Picture it like a well-run train station, where every arrival and departure used to happen on a predictable schedule. If the trains suddenly start showing up at random times, confusion spreads through the whole system. Your brain operates in much the same way. That central clock, located in a small region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, relies heavily on consistent daily cues to keep everything coordinated. When bedtime drifts earlier or later from one night to the next, perhaps because you're extra tired one evening or stayed up visiting with family the next, the phases of deep non-REM sleep that are so vital for cementing new memories into place get noticeably shorter. A team at the University of Colorado followed 300 adults across 8 years and found that those with irregular sleep timing experienced a 30% quicker drop in their ability to recall specific events and details. And this held true even among people who were still getting roughly the same total hours of sleep each night. I hear this objection frequently. Many say they manage 7 or 8 hours, So why should the exact timing matter so much? The key lies in quality rather than quantity alone. If the schedule isn't steady, the brain misses out on the fullest restorative benefits, even when the clock says you've been asleep long enough. If you've ever stepped into a room and immediately blanked on your reason for being there, feel free to add the word foggy to your comment so I know this resonates with you. A second habit that shows up constantly is lying in bed awake for stretches of 20 minutes, 40 minutes, or sometimes a full hour, figuring it's no real harm. At first glance, it seems minor, but the brain is constantly forming associations, and prolonged wakefulness in bed teaches it to connect that spot with alertness, planning, or worry rather than calm rest. Over weeks and months, the sleep becomes lighter and more broken apart because the mind no longer sees the bed as a reliable cue for drifting off. It's similar to trying to park your car in a spot that's turned into a hectic intersection instead of a peaceful garage. The relaxation response gets crowded out. Johns Hopkins researchers studied 250 adults aged 65 and older and discovered that those who regularly stayed awake for long periods in bed ended up having 42% more awakenings throughout the night and reported noticeably higher anxiety levels the following morning. That pattern quietly feeds into daytime brain fog, quicker irritation over small things, and sometimes a creeping sense of nervousness that feels unfamiliar even to people who have always stayed even-keeled. Then comes the habit of going to bed unusually early, say 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, because it feels like the sensible way to guarantee more rest. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, but the brain actually requires a sufficient number of wakeful hours during the day to generate what's known as sleep pressure, that natural buildup that pushes you toward deeper, more healing sleep stages. When bedtime arrives too soon, both slow-wave deep sleep and REM dreaming sleep end up shortened, which directly weakens the processes that solidify memories and regulate emotions. Think of the brain during the day as a sponge soaking up experiences. If it hasn't had time to take in enough wakefulness, it can't fully release and renew itself at night. Researchers at the University of Michigan examined older adults who chose very early bedtimes and found their REM cycles were 20% briefer, even though they remained in bed for 9 or 10 hours total. That shortened cycle can closely resemble the early signs of cognitive slowing. Yet in many cases, the brain itself remains healthy, and the issue reverses once the wake-sleep balance gets restored. Light exposure during the night is another factor that surprises nearly everyone. Even modest amounts, from a hallway fixture left on, a phone screen glowing nearby, or a television flickering in the background, signal to the brain that it's still daytime and suppress production of melatonin, the protective hormone that helps shield neurons and initiates the deepest, most repairing phases of sleep. You can compare the nighttime brain to a factory that needs darkness to run its cleanup crew efficiently. Any light keeps parts of the system working when they should be resting, so waste lingers longer. Stanford investigators tested the impact on adults 65 and older and found that even low-intensity nighttime illumination cut melatonin levels by 50%, resulting in shallower sleep overall and reduced effectiveness in forming and retaining memories the next day. People tend to downplay this one because the damage accumulates so slowly and doesn't announce itself with immediate discomfort, but it quietly contributes to the overall burden. Long-term reliance on sleep medications rounds out the common list. These can provide welcome relief for brief periods, but when used nightly across many months or years, a number of them dampen the exact deep non-REM and REM stages the brain depends on for consolidating what you've learned, clearing out harmful buildup, and maintaining emotional equilibrium. A study published in JAMA Neurology examined seniors taking benzodiazepine-based sleep aids consistently for more than 6 months and noted a 23% reduction in slow-wave sleep, the crucial stage responsible for washing away proteins like beta amyloid that are linked to cognitive risks. Even when the person feels they've slept adequately, the brain misses out on full nighttime maintenance, leaving subtle deficits that grow over time. The hopeful reality is that these habits don't create irreversible damage. Brains retain impressive resilience well into the 60s, 70s, and beyond, and meaningful recovery often follows when conditions improve. Awareness paired with small, consistent adjustments makes the difference, not fear. To bring this closer to home, let me share two true examples from people I've guided through the process. Margaret, at 72, sat across from me feeling both frustrated and frightened. She described how her mind seemed to be slipping away day by day, walking into rooms only to forget her purpose there, groping for ordinary words that used to flow without thought, noticing memory lapses pop up regularly in conversations or while running errands. She believed she was getting 8 solid hours of sleep each night. But as we talked further, she explained that her bedtime varied quite a bit, sometimes starting at 9, other nights closer to 11, depending on how the evening unfolded, and she frequently spent a full hour lying awake with her mind spinning through worries or replaying the day's events. Together, we introduced the REST protocol, a clear, phased plan I'll describe in detail shortly. Within 6 weeks, she returned with noticeable excitement in her voice. She said her mornings had transformed. She now felt roughly 80% clear and alert upon waking, instead of the 40% she had grown used to. Nighttime awakenings fell from 4 or 5 episodes down to just 1 or 2. The anxiety that had begun shadowing her days eased considerably, and she regained a sense of trust in her own thinking. Memory wasn't suddenly perfect, but her brain felt nourished and rested for the first time in a long while. Looking me in the eye, she said quietly, "I was convinced I was losing my mind for good, but it turned out my brain had just been running on empty without the right kind of rest." Harold was 68 and had adopted the habit of retiring very early, around 7 most evenings, because he thought extra time in bed would protect his health. Unfortunately, he would wake around 3 in the morning, completely alert, and remain unable to fall back asleep for hours. Testing showed a mild dip in his short-term recall ability, and he had depended on a low-dose sleep medication for several years. We focused on establishing a fixed wake-up time, reducing any sources of light after dark, and gradually shifting bedtime later in small increments. After 8 weeks, his deep sleep had risen by 35%, based on the wearable tracker he used. His word recall score climbed from 15 out of 20 to 19 out of 20. The persistent morning haze cleared away completely, and his daily mood became far more consistent without the emotional roller coaster he'd experienced before. The REST protocol successfully realigned his natural repair rhythms, and he expressed genuine surprise at how much lighter and more capable he felt overall. Experiences like Margaret's and Harold's happen regularly. Countless seniors show clear, trackable progress in thinking and mood when their sleep patterns receive thoughtful attention. The framework that has guided so many of these improvements is one I developed and call the REST protocol: rhythm, education, stimulus control, and timing. Let's go through each element carefully so you can picture exactly how it fits into real life. The foundation is establishing a fixed wake-up time. Choose a practical hour, perhaps 7 or 7:30, and rise at that same moment every morning without exception, even following a night when sleep felt short or restless. This single practice powerfully stabilizes the circadian clock and strengthens the natural buildup toward deep sleep the following evening. It gives your brain a dependable signal about when daytime begins and nighttime should follow. Harvard-led research demonstrated that holding a consistent wake time boosted deep sleep by 30% within only 2 weeks for many participants. Alongside that, handle naps thoughtfully. If napping feels helpful, limit it strictly to 20 minutes or less and finish well before 3 in the afternoon. Extended or late-day naps reduce the healthy pressure your body needs to drop into truly restorative nighttime sleep. In place of long naps, channel energy into daytime habits that encourage natural tiredness later. One of the easiest and most effective boosters is morning light exposure. Aim for 15 to 20 minutes of natural daylight soon after waking. perhaps by stepping outside with your first cup of tea, strolling gently around your yard or neighborhood, or sitting near an open window where sunlight reaches you. That early light helps recalibrate your internal timer, speeds the onset of sleep in the evening, and increases the depth of the sleep you achieve. Pairing the light with mild movement, like easy walking, stretching, or light chores, further supports the process by gently tiring the body in a healthy way. Stimulus control becomes especially useful if you often find yourself awake in bed for extended periods. The rule is straightforward. If 20 to 30 minutes pass without sleep arriving, leave the bed calmly. Move to a different space if possible. Keep lighting very soft and low, and choose an activity that is deliberately uninteresting and non-activating. You might flip through a dull catalog, organize a drawer quietly, or sit listening to gentle instrumental music. Steer clear of phones, televisions, bright rooms, or anything mentally engaging. This method gradually reteaches the brain that bed means sleep, rather than wakeful thinking or frustration. The Johns Hopkins group reported that seniors applying this technique reduced their average nighttime awakenings by 42% across 6 weeks, leading to noticeably fresher mornings. Regarding bedtime, the window that suits most older adults best falls between 9:30 and 10:30 at night. If your current pattern sits outside that range, resist forcing an abrupt change. Instead, adjust gradually by moving bedtime about 15 minutes later every 2 or 3 nights until you settle comfortably into the ideal zone. This slower shift allows your body to adapt smoothly and frequently results in extended periods of deep, slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, both of which enhance memory consolidation and emotional steadiness. University of Michigan findings showed seniors who optimized bedtime in this way improved their scores on cognitive assessments by 15 to 20% after 4 weeks. The final pieces involve protecting nighttime darkness and thoughtfully reviewing any regular sleep medications with your doctor. After sunset, switch to dim, warm-colored lighting rather than harsh overheads, position electronic devices screen down or in another room, and turn off televisions well ahead of bedtime. Preserving natural melatonin flow supports deeper sleep stages and more effective overnight brain cleanup. If sleep aids are part of your routine, discuss with your physician whether continuing them remains appropriate or if alternatives might better align with long-term brain health. Small refinements in this area often yield outsized improvements. When you follow the rest protocol consistently, the benefits tend to unfold in stages that feel motivating and sustainable. During the initial week, sleep often grows subtly deeper. Middle-of-the-night awakenings decrease in number, and mornings bring a faint but welcome increase in mental brightness. By the second week, most people fall asleep more quickly after getting into bed. Overall anxiety levels dip slightly, and daytime alertness begins to feel more reliable. In weeks 3 and 4, the gains become easier to notice. Recalled details surface more readily. Focus holds steadier during reading or talking with others. Memory for recent events strengthens, and emotional responses feel calmer and less reactive. From week 4 onward, the deep and REM phases settle into a dependable rhythm. Reliance on daytime naps diminishes, and a broader sense of cognitive clarity returns, making ordinary activities feel smoother and less effortful. The process resembles a gentle yet profound reset for the brain, starting quietly but building into a meaningful restoration of sharpness once consistent rhythms take hold. To be completely transparent, the REST protocol supports better sleep-related brain function, but does not serve as a cure or direct treatment for dementia, Alzheimer's, or other neurological disorders. If you currently take prescribed medications of any kind, particularly those for sleep, mood, blood pressure, or other conditions, never discontinue or alter them independently. Consult your doctor first. For anyone managing diagnosed sleep apnea, significant cardiac issues, depression, or similar concerns, speak with your physician before introducing notable routine changes. The wisest approach is gradual. Lock in the steady wake-up time for several days or a week, then slowly incorporate bedtime adjustments, followed by light management and stimulus control as your body settles in. These remain safe, low-risk modifications backed by measurable positive effects on brain performance. Here's the challenge I offer you personally. Select one single component of the rest protocol that feels approachable, perhaps committing to that unchanging wake-up time, experimenting with a slightly later bedtime, minimizing light after dark, or applying the get-out-of-bed rule when sleep stalls, and follow it faithfully every day for 30 full days. During that month, keep a casual mental note of how clear-headed you feel upon waking, how stable your mood remains through the hours, and how reliably your memory serves you in daily situations. When the 30 days end, return here and share your observations in a comment. Tell me and others what shifted for you. It can spark encouragement for someone reading along and help reinforce your own progress through the simple act of reflection. The brain you carry has supported you across decades of experiences, relationships, challenges, and joys. It has earned more than a casual dismissal as just getting older. Through reliable, caring sleep practices, you can actively nurture its strength, helping memory stay dependable, focus remain steady, and emotional balance endure. Next week, I plan to explore one unexpected daily habit that often lifts brain fog in seniors, and I feel confident at least one suggestion will prompt you to reconsider long-held ideas about keeping your mind vibrant.